I'm Jamie Smart, and you're listening to the Results Mindset Podcast, the show that helps you have less on your mind so you can achieve the results that matter to you and enjoy the journey every step of the way.
Hi, I'm Jamie Smart, and welcome to Instant Clarity. Now, this brief 20-minute recording is a companion piece to my book, The Little Book of Clarity. And during this 20-minute recording, I'm going to be introducing you to the source of instant clarity that you have within you. And the reason I know that you have it within you is because it's there within everybody. So you can relax. You can just sit back and relax and enjoy listening to this recording. And I'm going to be sharing some stories with you and some metaphors and some examples that are really going to help you to wake up to the source of instant clarity that's already there within you. So I'm really glad you're joining me here. And well, let's start with that claim that there exists such a thing as instant clarity. And what I'm going to suggest to you is that clarity always comes in an instant. Like, you've had this experience yourself where maybe you don't know where you've left your keys, or you're trying to solve some problem and you just can't find the answer, or you're trying to figure out what to do, some decision or some dilemma, and you don't know which route to take. And finally, you give up on it. And then all of a sudden, maybe a moment later, or maybe it's when you're, having a walk or in the shower or just doing something else, it suddenly comes to you. You get the answer. You remember where you left the keys. You suddenly know which direction you want to go in. Well, the reason that happens is because you have within you a source of fresh new thinking. And when I say fresh new thinking, I mean something very, very specific. I mean thinking that's more closely aligned with reality. And this is the first thing I want to tell you about instant clarity. You see, the clarity model, you'll find that most of the time when people are learning something about the mind, something they want to do with their mind, an application, they're looking for positive advice. They're looking for how-tos. How do I be more motivated? How do I get better ideas? How do I do this? And the kind of advice we instinctively want to look for is what you might call positive advice. And this is why, the men's magazines and women's magazines have things on the cover, like Men's Health has, 6 things you need to do to lose, 20 pounds in the next month, or the 5 things you need to do to get a great relationship, or get red hot sex, or to find your dream job. And it's always positive advice, and the positive advice strikes you as soon as you read it. It's like, oh wow, that's obvious, and it's also instantly forgettable. And that's because it's an additive model, and the idea is that you plus someone else's good ideas equals super you. Well, the clarity model is ruthlessly subtractive. Well, the assumption is you're already super you, and all that's getting in the way of you knowing what you need to know and having the resources available to you in the moment that you need is what I call contaminated thinking. And this is something we all run up against. It's unhelpful thinking arising from an innocent misunderstanding about where our experience is coming from. So I'm going to tell you a story to give you an example of this. And this comes from a workshop I did just a month ago. And during this workshop, from time to time, I would get someone up at the front of the room with me to coach them on something. And so the person I was coaching, they started out saying, they said, I'm concerned that I'm loving this workshop and it's great, but I'm concerned that a month from now or 3 months from now, nothing will actually have changed. I'll look back and it'll have just been another workshop. And so I said, well, what what's a change that you'd like to make? In fact, I asked, if I could wave a magic wand, or if there were a miracle tonight, and you wake up tomorrow morning and everything's just the way you'd like it to be, how would you know a miracle had occurred? And she reflected on it for a few minutes, and she said, well, I wouldn't have a job. I'd have left my job. She said, I would have more time. I would be building my coaching business. I would be doing the things I want to do. I'd be spending more time with the people that matter to me. She said, that's how I know. And I said, okay, well, what does it look to you like it's getting in the way of that? And she said, well, I'm just so overwhelmed with stuff to do. I'm in such a rush. I'm in such a hurry. And she's telling me all about this stuff. So in her mind, what she was looking for is, how can I be in less of a rush? How can I be in less of a hurry? Or how can I have less to do? Or how can I get more done? She was looking for ways. So she was looking for some kind of solution to that. But remember what I said is that the clarity model is ruthlessly subtractive. So I asked her a question. And the question I asked her is, where does it seem to you like that feeling of rushing is coming from? And it was kind of funny. She said, well, it's coming from rushing thinking, right? And I said, well, I know that's what you think I think it's coming from, but I'm asking, what do you think it's coming from? And it turned out that she felt that the feelings of rush, the feelings of hurry, were letting her know about the job and about how much stuff she had to do and the appointments she had to get her kids to, and from the things she hadn't done in the past and the things she needed to do in the future, and from other people's expectations of her. It seemed as though those feelings were letting her know about a huge variety of things. And I said to her, well, are you open to the possibility that your feelings are letting you know about one thing? That your feelings are letting you know about the principle of thought taking form in this moment? And she went quiet. And it's so interesting because one of the things that most people don't realize is that we're evolved for reality. As a human being, you're optimized for reality. We've evolved literally for hundreds of thousands of generations to be really, really good at reality, at operating in this world. And our bodies and our minds and our senses are beautifully adapted to living in the reality on this planet. We do really, really well in reality. However, we haven't evolved to live in a made-up la-la land. When I say reality, we've evolved to live in a world that works according to certain principles. But we haven't evolved to live in a world where we can feel things other than thought in the moment. See, the challenge, all my clients are up against the same two challenges. Challenge number one is they're preoccupied with something. They've got some situation or some problem they want to solve or some goal they want to achieve or some change they want to make. And they've been thinking about it. And they've been thinking about it a lot. And the more they think about it, the more they don't know the answer. And they've been thinking, sometimes for days and weeks, sometimes for months or even for years. they've been thinking about this thing, and the more they think about it, the more they don't know the answer. So that's the first challenge that people are up against. And then the second challenge is they're underestimating what they've got going for them. They're overlooking the fact that they have a source of clarity and insight and wisdom within them. They're overlooking the fact that every single one of us has access to fresh, new thinking, fresh, new perception that can bring us more closely into line with how reality already works. And the thing is, we do great in reality. The issue isn't that people are struggling with reality. They're struggling with their made-up constructs about what they think the future looks like, or the grip they think the past has over them. But it's not true. It's a fundamental misunderstanding. See, we're always living in the feeling of the principle of thought taking form in the moment. But it often seems as though we're feeling something other than thought in the moment. It seems as though we're feeling our past or feeling our future, that we're feeling what other people think of us, or feeling our bank balance or some other aspect of life. But it's not how it works. It only works one way. We're always living in the feeling of the principle of thought taking form in the moment. And the moment we wake up to the truth of that, we fall back into the present. And what we discover the moment you fall back into the present is that you have what you need for whatever's at hand. I'll tell you a funny story about this. So last summer I was in Leicester, where Nikki, my business partner, is based, and I was meeting with her all day. And my car was being MOT'd. It was being tuned up and that sort of thing at the local garage. And that evening, I was due to collect my car at 5:30 and then go and take my daughters out to dinner and take them to a movie. So I go at 5:30 to collect my car. And the guy behind the counter says, "Oh, we're just doing some final checks. We're just going to be a few minutes." Well, I hadn't really allowed much wiggle room in my schedule. So I hadn't allowed much time. So I was a little bit kind of, oh, okay. So he said, "It'll be 5 minutes. They're just running some final checks." So I go to wait, and I notice, I can see into the garage, and I see that my car is up on one of those car elevators. And there's these guys underneath it with a blowtorch and, and a hammer and tinking at things and using the blowtorch. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't look like they're doing tests. But I know better than to go and rush people along when they're in the middle of something. So I sit down to wait, and I try and take my mind off it by watching the TV in the waiting room. But I get so bothered and so anxious because I'm thinking, oh, geez, I'm running late. I'm going to be late for picking up my daughters, which means we won't get to dinner on time, and then we'll miss the start of the movie, and da-da-da-da-da. So I'm getting bothered. Finally, I'm getting so bothered that I'm standing up and striding around, pacing around the waiting room to try and get rid of some of this nervous energy. I'm really, really bothered. I'm thinking, oh God, I'm so stupid. Why didn't I allow more time? I always do this. I'm kind of rushing, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Then all of a sudden, a thought occurs to me. Where do you think your feelings are coming from? And it stops me in my tracks. I'm like, and the thought goes, do you think it's coming from the mechanics or the time or from the late dinner or the late movie or from you not planning ahead? Do you think that's what your feelings are telling you about? And I was like, oh, I got tricked again. And the moment I saw it, that your feelings are only ever telling you about thought taking form in the moment. Now, it absolutely looked as though it was coming from all those other things. But the moment I saw it was coming from thought, I fell back into the present. And the moment I fell back into the present moment, I knew exactly what to do. I took out my phone, I called my ex-wife and said, hey, I'm going to be 15, 20 minutes late to pick up the girls. Can you please feed them and we'll be out to the movie on time. See, you're designed for reality. When I was lost in a la-la land of a world where my feelings were coming from all these other factors, then I felt like a victim of circumstance. I felt like a victim of the timescales and my bad planning and the movie and all this stuff. But the moment I saw where my experience is coming from, the moment I woke up to the truth of the matter, I fell out of la-la land and back into the present. And the moment you fall back into the present, you discover that you have what you need for the job at hand. So this is what happened to my client. And this is like a 20-minute coaching session. Say, where do you think that's coming from? And she fell out of her thinking and back into the moment. And she suddenly got so quiet. And as she got quiet and present to the moment, we felt so much more deeply connected. And here's the interesting thing. I got an email from her a month later saying that things had shifted so profoundly just from that 20-minute session. And it was like she was living in a different world. And all the rush and hurry was gone. And it was allowing her to deal with life on life's terms. It was giving her time to connect with the people who mattered to her, to take the steps that made sense on building her coaching business. She's incredibly optimistic and in a good feeling about the present day and about the future. All because she fell out of her thinking and back into the moment. Now, like I said at the beginning of this recording, that always happens in an instant because you have that source of fresh new thinking always there within you. You know, I have a kind of a formula or an equation, which is clarity equals capacity minus contamination. See, you have a capacity for clarity. You have a capacity for insight. You have a capacity for resilience and peace. You have a capacity for connection and creativity. So you have that capacity within you always. You know, not because like you're so great or think positive, but rather because life has that capacity within it. And you're made of life. You're connected up to the same creative force that's creating, you know, your cells in your body and creating your immune system and that's creating the trees. That life force is there within every single one of us by virtue of the fact that we're breathing. That life force is there within us. And that life force is that capacity for fresh new thinking, for insights that can bring you more closely into relationship with reality as it is right now. And the contamination comes from the misunderstanding, the mistaken belief that we can ever feel anything other than the principle of thought taking form in the moment. And it often looks like we can feel things other than thought in the moment, and that's why we get preoccupied. The moment we believe we're feeling something other than the principle of thought taking form in the moment, then we're thrown into la-la land. We're thrown into a world where we can be a victim of circumstance. But we can never actually be a victim of circumstance because we're always living in the feeling of thought in the moment. And the moment you wake up to the truth of that fact, you fall out of your habitual outside-in misunderstanding. You fall out of your contaminated thinking and back into the present, back into reality. And the moment you land in reality, you have what you need for the situation at hand. So I'm really glad that you can join me here on this recording, and I'm really thrilled to be sharing this journey with you. And I look forward to meeting you at some point in the future. And if you want to find out more about this understanding or the Little Book of Clarity, you can go to jamiesmart.com or littlebookofclarity.com. Thanks for your attention.
Thanks for listening. If you want to experience a clear mind more of the time with better performance and bigger results, here's what to do next. Discover your personal clarity quotient by answering 20 simple questions at jamiesmart.com/CQ. This quick and easy questionnaire gives you a snapshot of your current state of mind, and it's totally free. You'll find out your stress score and your engagement score, as well as getting some ideas about how you can improve your overall clarity quotient. It'll only take you a few minutes to do, and you can get it for free at jamiesmart.com/CQ. And finally, I want to ask you a favor that'll only take you 30 seconds or even less, and it'll make a huge difference to me, my guests, and our community. If you like this show, then please let me and my guests know. And the quickest, easiest ways you can do this right now is subscribe to this podcast, because that's how you can let us know you like it. It's super easy, and it would really mean a lot to me. Just head over to iTunes right now, search for The Results Mindset, then click on the show and hit subscribe. Once again, it'll only take you 30 seconds or even less, and it'll make a big difference to me because it helps people who resonate with my work to find this podcast. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate your help, so go ahead and subscribe now. Thanks for listening.